Here is my pile of trash and or recyclables. And I know that's what it looks like to a lot of people, including my husband, but we are going to start a bunch of plants today with winter sowing, not in milk jugs though. We're going to get creative. We are going to use all of the stuff here that would have ended up in the trash or the recycling. Some of it would have ended up in the trash, like these Ziploc bags. So let's get started. I think we're going to have fun. And we got a beautiful backdrop of snow falling for our day of winter sowing. So before we get to all the various containers we're going to creatively use today, some ideas for you, something you might want to replicate at your house. Let's just go over the winter sowing basics. So you're going to need a container that you can see through or mostly see through so that the light can penetrate. You're going to need holes on the bottom, holes on the top. You need holes on the bottom for drainage. You need holes on the top for airflow and water or snow to come inside for moisture. My new favorite way to put holes into my containers is to use ice picks. And you can get different sizes. I like this one, but I also really like this one for the bottom. And there are other methods. You can burn holes, you can cut holes, you can drill holes. You just want to do it safely, whatever you choose to do. Just make sure you've got adequate drainage on the bottom, adequate ventilation, and areas for water to come in through on the top. Be sure to remove any labels that will block the sun. And then now that you've got all your holes, top and bottom, you want to put in your soil. This is potting mix. Ideally, you should not use moisture control. However, sometimes you just have to work with what you have, and that's what I have is moisture control. So I'm not going to wet it as much as I might normally. You don't want your soil dripping wet. You just want it moist because remember, you're planting in winter. There should still be moisture from the snow. You're probably getting some rain. You don't want your soil overly wet because your seeds will rot. So we're going to start with spinach, strawberry. I've had a horrible time getting this to germinate. This is an older seed packet, 2022. But I'm going to put the whole seed pack in here and just hope for the best and see what happens. It says 1/8 inch deep. So I'm basically going to surface sow this, and then I'm just going to shuffle the soil just slightly so that it's covered barely. And then we're going to put the lid on and stick it out in the snow. See how microscopic those seeds are? So I'm not even going to shuffle that soil around. We're just going to sprinkle because they're so tiny. The tinier the seed, the less you're going to try to bury it with soil. Now, I did go on the website and other people had trouble getting this to germinate. I've not tried it in winter sowing, so I'm hoping that's going to be the trick. Sometimes if you have a seed that's really difficult to germinate, like for me it was feverfew, but the year I tried doing it winter sowing, I got a ton of plants, and now I have an endless supply of feverfew because it self-sows in my garden everywhere. I just needed to get started with the winter sowing. Now, the only caveat to me surface sowing is some seeds require darkness to germinate. And I really haven't looked this up to see. I guess I should since I had trouble in the past. So yeah, like I'm thinking larkspur, supposedly it needs darkness to germinate, but I have plenty of self-sown larkspur in my garden that just keeps coming back without any intervention on my part as far as me making sure those seeds are covered. So I think we'll be good. Definitely kind of disperse the seeds throughout, and we'll just have to cross our fingers and see what happens with this variety. It is a gorgeous plant. I'll put a picture right here that supposedly self-sows readily. And that is a theme you're going to see today. All of the seeds that we are sowing are either cool weather crops and or they self-sow naturally in the garden, or they need co-stratification and so forth. All right, today's first container is out in the snow, and it's time to move on to some more of these guys. So a couple years ago, I made a whole video on winter sowing artichokes, and it's more in detail. So I'm just going to quickly just say that I've already got the holes on the bottom of this container. I've got a big hole on top, And we're going to cut this label off on both sides. I made a hinge, you can see, so that we can access our artichokes here in the next couple months. So artichokes do need a time period of vernalization, but it's not a time period where it's below freezing. Ideally, say 40 to 50 degrees for, I think, a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks or so. And so I'm hopeful that these artichokes will do just as well as the ones I winter sown a couple years ago. So I'm going to go ahead, get the labels off, get the soil in. Then I think what we'll do is maybe 1 to 2 well, let's just say 2 to 3 seeds per container. Sometimes you don't have the best germination on artichoke seeds. These are older, from 2022. So we're gonna put 3 seeds in here. These do grow really quickly after they've germinated. So probably at some point we will be potting these up into containers and maybe putting them in my little outdoor greenhouse with the plastic down, and hopefully these guys will do great. I just realized we just forgot a very important step on our last container, so I'm going to have to take a label outside and stick inside that container. We forgot to label that container altogether. So we will not, with these artichokes, I'm going to put a label on the inside, and after we get everything inside, the soil, the seeds, we're going to duct tape this up and seal it up, and then we're going to write on the outside as well what is inside. All right, so we got labels ready for our artichokes. I'm just going to run out to my garage where I have my soil and get some soil filled into these containers, but I wanted to show you something kind of cool. What do you think about this? This is a dried artichoke flower from last summer, which was 2024. And I don't know why, but I just couldn't help myself. I wanted to see, could I dry this flower and keep this vibrant purple flower in my kitchen as decoration? And yes, that is what it has been for the last, what, 10, 11 months? No, not 10 months. Now, I do not think that it dried at the right point for seed saving. I was tempted to rip this open and see if there were some dried seeds, but I kind of picked it when it was vibrant like this. And usually when you save the seeds from artichoke, it's much more brown and ugly. So I don't think the seeds are mature in this flower, but isn't it pretty? I'm not sure how long I will keep it. It doesn't smell bad or anything. It's really dry. I think it's okay to keep as a dried flower. So even though these are pretty big seeds, the directions say 1/4 of an inch deep, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to put about, let's just do 4, since I have so many seeds and they're so old. And I know sometimes I do have a little bit of a germination issue with artichoke seeds, and it's really starting to come down out there. I've only got 1 container done. I tell you guys, I am slow. It takes me a long time to do anything. Push those down 1/4 of an inch. And if you want more information on growing artichokes, I do have a taking care of artichoke video from a couple years ago as well. They are excellent plants to have, especially if you want to make like a border to keep the deer out. The deer hate them. They're spiky. The deer don't want to mulch on them or walk past them. Someday in my future garden, I will be using artichokes as a barrier. Just an excellent plant. It's so beautiful when you let it flower. I'm not sealing these up all the way around. I'm just putting a piece of tape to hold the flap down, because as soon as these guys sprout and we have more than 1, if there's just 1 per container, I might be able to wait a little bit. But if there is going to be more than 1 in each container, we got to pot these guys up quick. These guys will grow super fast on you. They get huge quickly, and let's say 2 to 3 germinate in each container. Well, we're quickly going to have to think about a new situation for these guys and get them potted up. All right, for our next container, we're going to use an alcohol bottle. Now, it's not completely transparent, but light can go through this. well, I'm trying to give an example, but yes, so light could penetrate through here. It's not completely opaque. So we're going to use this for some aster, and I did rinse it out super well because I do think alcohol might be a problem, or vinegar. You know, sometimes I use vinegar containers, something with an acidic juice. I rinse really, really well. And so for this alcohol container, we are just going to drop maybe 1 to 3 of these blue aster seeds because this is a smaller container. It's not as big as a regular milk jug. I think 1 to 2 plants max will probably be okay until spring, when I can open up, you know, early spring, open up these lids, let them start getting some growth to them. So this container was really stout, strong on the bottom. I could not penetrate it with my ice pick, so I kind of worked around that by going all the way around the edge, and that should still allow enough drainage to flow out. I think it'll be fine. And then we've got our opening. Another one done and ready to go outside. So I'm just going to stick it on the tray here. I'm not going to go out every single time. I'm going to wait till I get them all done. Okay, so for the next seeds, which it's going to be the tall verbena, which is stunning and gorgeous. Love this plant. It does self-seed, and it is one that would be a great candidate for early winter sowing. We're going to use this big bag that I hated to throw away, and we are going to line it after we cut slits all along the bottom so the water can flow out. We're going to line it with just these pieces of cardboard that I also didn't want to throw away because they're so nice. They fit together. We're going to fit them together. We're going to fill this up with soil. It's going to be in the bottom of the bag, and then we're going to leave this top with an opening. And for good measure, I will puncture a few holes into this cardboard as well, but it will soften, it will release some water. Not too worried about it getting too saturated because on the bottom, we cut a lot of slits into the plastic. Alrighty, it is ready. And these seeds are barely covered, so we're just going to sprinkle. And there are quite a few in there actually, and I think I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle the whole pack. These are older, well, not too old, they're from 2022, but I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle them all because they're so tiny. And if we get a bunch of tall verbena, that will not be a problem. It will be so beautiful. Since I actively have snow falling, we're not going to leave this like this with an opening for airflow and or moisture to come in and out. We're going to leave it all the way open, and I'm going to roll down the sides so that we can just let that snow pile on top of that soil. Remember, these seeds are the ones that either need cold stratification or they very easily self-seed, and they are used to being just laying dormant all winter, all the elements. So we don't have to really worry about protecting these seeds. They shouldn't wash away because they're pretty well confined. And we're just gonna, we're just gonna roll this down. And then when the snow is done, I'll put it back up like this. I did add a couple plastic knives on each side to kind of support the wall a little bit while we're leaving it open. And I suspect that this is going to do very well. I kind of like this method. I might have to start doing this all the time. For this purple love grass, we're going to do the exact same method. I'm going to cut slits in the bottom of the bag. I'm going to puncture some holes in the cardboard. I'm going to fill it up with, or overfill. It'll be overfilled, kind of like the other container, with some good soil that is potting mix that has fertilizer in it, so that we don't have to worry about our plants getting hungry while they're outside doing their thing. And that's what we're going to do. Quick and easy. I'll probably put some more of those plastic knives in here to support the walls. All right, that container looks great. So I'm thinking 3, maybe 4 clumps of the seeds. So usually when you're planting grass seeds, you do just little clump sprinklings, like we'll do sprinkle, 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 sprinkle. Probably 3 would be best. Yep, so that's what we're gonna do. I got 3 sprinkled clumps of the purple love grass. And we can divide these later once they're more established plants. We just want to get them germinating and growing, and then we can figure all that out later as far as making more and more plants. Grasses are very easy to divide in your perennial gardens. And here is another variation of something similar to what we just did. I'm going to be using these old bags that I couldn't really reuse, and we're going to put slits in the bottom, but instead of the cardboard lining, we're going to use strawberry containers that already have slits all around, on the top, on the bottom. We're going to leave it open in the plastic baggie, and we're going to fill it with soil, probably mound it up, overfill somewhat, and then we will do the same thing while the snow is still coming down and heavy. We'll roll down the sides and maybe give some support with the plastic knives. And then once the snow is gone, I don't have to worry about that heavy weight on top of these bags, I'll unroll them, zip lock, what do you call it? Zip tie, not zip tie, zip slide, leave opening for air, water, moisture, and I think they will do great. So the Corsica mint is a micro mini mint. It doesn't get very tall at all, like barely tall. So that's an ideal plant to be growing in something really shallow. The parsley does get a lot bigger, of course. It takes quite a bit of time to germinate. I want to get these started. This is a cool weather crop for me. They don't take the summer heat. So once they're established as, little seedlings, a couple sets of true leaves, I will just go ahead and quickly get them relocated in the garden. I don't like to transplant them at too big of a stage because they do have a taproot. So they need to get put into the garden fairly quickly. So this little container will work out just fine. I did have to improvise just a little bit. It wasn't quite steady on its own. I know it'll be more sturdy once the soil's in here, but I went ahead and cut the lid off and then just put it on the bottom of the strawberry container. And that's okay because it also has a bunch of slits all through it. And for good measure, I might just puncture a few holes with my ice pick real quick. But I think I'm going to like that better than leaving the lid attached and upright. These two are ready for planting. And I'm going to get them done quickly and outside. And the last item we're going to do today, you can see the holes in this takeout container. There's holes in the bottom of that one. I'm going to start filling it up with soil. And then we're going to plant our German chamomile. This is also a cool weather crop for me. It will not survive the summer heat. So it's going to get planted, I'm going to say maybe March-ish, mid-March. So that's not too far away, about a month or so. I'll probably be able to put these guys into the ground. So I don't need a lot of height. This is going to be kind of short. We're just doing this to get them germinated, growing, and then I will directly put them into the ground just like I'm going to do with the parsley. So let me get this filled up. Let me get the soil moist. Then we will sprinkle these seeds, pop the lid on, and I will take all of my containers out into the snow. It's the next morning. Everything's starting to melt, and I just wanted to show you guys my collection of winter sowing, how well it is doing. These are the guys I worked on in the video. You can see all of the snow is already melting and processing and going through the cardboard, the soil, moistening, all of that. My Brussels sprouts are actually inside of here, nice and cozy from the insulation of the snow. Hope this video encourages you to start some winter sowing projects. Use up some of your recyclables, trash, and get a head start on your spring and summer garden. If you found any value in the video, any inspiration to encourage you, I'd appreciate some comments. Love to hear from you guys. Or you could even just like the video. That would be awesome too. Hope you're having a great week. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.